Hey guys, it's Trunky Nugget, and today I'm here to do something a little interesting. So I came up with this idea a couple of days ago when I saw a Gas video on describing the Fire Emblem Echoes units with alliteration, and I thought, it's quite an interesting idea, but I'd like to take my own spin on it. So I came up with the idea of describing Fire Emblem units with one word, and it's turned out to be pretty interesting. And I like how this looks. So today we're going to be rating the Fire Emblem 7 characters with only one word. Just before I start, I'd like to note that I am not rating their personality or anything like that. I am rating what I think of them as a unit. So basically their performance, and for some characters whether they're worth recruiting or not. That doesn't come into play too much. But anyway, let's just get right into it. So, starting with Lyn, I actually spent a lot of time thinking about this, and in the end, I came up with the word trash, because that's what Lyn is. She's trash. Moving on, I kind of rated Sain and Kent together. It's kind of hard not to because they're very similar. So Sain I described as Chad, and Kent I described as virgin. Moving on, Florina, a very interesting unit. I like to use her myself. Thought a lot about this one too. In the end, I settled on rating her with the word rescue, because at the end of the day, a lot of Florina's contributions are basically just rescue utility, moving units around, moving units across mountains, water, that kind of thing. Her combat doesn't get good until a lot later, so most of her uses honestly are just rescuing, and the rest of your time using her is basically just power leveling her until she actually gets good. Now for Will, this is an interesting unit. I thought a lot about what to call this man too. At the end of the day, I decided on chip. Will is the ultimate definition of chip. He's force deployed in only one chapter, and you're not going to use him after that. You're not going to. The thing about Will is in the chapter he's in, he does some damage. I'm not going to lie. He does do some damage. So I settled on chip because, you're not going to use him to kill anything, but he is going to help other better units get some experience, get some kills in that one chapter that he appears. Now, Dorcas, the meme man himself. Instead of settling for the memes, I settled for the word slow, because at the end of the day, Dorcas is ludicrously slow. His base is actually pretty good. His growth is so bad that it basically ruins him as a unit, in my opinion. You literally have to be lucky to use this guy. At least lucky in terms of speed level ups. Because the thing about Dorcas is if you don't get lucky speed level ups, he's honestly just not worth using. Because sure, he's got a lot of HP. His defense is decent. He's gonna survive some hits, and also like his strength is pretty dang high too. But he's not gonna be killing anything. If you just let him take on like tons of enemies at once, he might survive, sure, but none of the enemies are gonna die because his speed is just so low. He's not gonna double, and he doesn't have enough strength to one shot. So it's kind of hard to justify using Dorcas, honestly. That's all I have to say about him. Serra, very clear cut to me. I just put her as Staves. I don't even know what to say. Staves are always really good in Fire Emblem games. That's basically her identity because that's all she can do. Her stats aren't that good. She's not really good at anything other than that. Just build up her staff rank, she'll be good to go. That's all I have to say about Serra. Urk. The word I came up with was shaky. A lot of people use this word to describe Urk, and I'd like to explain a little bit about why. Maybe you believe this, maybe you don't agree, but Urk is just a weird unit because he basically starts with like Eliwood's bases. He's got low strength or magic, whatever, low speed, well, kind of good speed. He's just got like kind of bad base stats around the board. The problem with Urk is his only really good growth is speed. It's decent, and honestly, his speed's gonna be like, it's gonna be good throughout the game because of his speed growth and base combined. The reason we call Urk shaky, the reason that's the word I chose, is because his magic base combined with his magic growth are just not, they're just not good. Like, honestly, more often than not, you are going to see a very disappointing Urk. Maybe he's going to be really fast, maybe he's going to be doubling, but he's going to be doubling doing like 8 damage in total. Like, that's what we mean by shaky. His magic growth is shaky. His magic in general is shaky. You have no idea what you're going to end up with. These around 40% gross, like 30 to 40 gross, like that, on such an important stat for a unit. It's hard to, with all the other options, it's hard to use Urk when he's just that shaky. Hopefully you understand what I'm actually talking about here. Moving on to Rath. Rath is kind of hard to describe too. I mean, I wouldn't consider him a bad unit, but the word I chose for him was absent, because he's just gone for so long. Like, if you don't take into account Lin mode, which I know a lot of people don't, I don't at all. I'd never play Lin mode. Rath just comes so late that like he's not worth using. You get him in the same chapter as Isadora, a paladin, all while Rath comes at level 9 with like level 9 stats. It's so hard to justify using this guy. That's why I use the word absent. He's just gone for way too long. I really think that's the best descriptor of Rath, and I think a lot of people would agree with that one. Matthew, I spent a lot of time thinking about this one too because I like Matthew. I really do like Matthew. I use him every playthrough. I'm sure a lot of players use him every playthrough. But what's the reason that we use Matthew? Well, the reason that we use Matthew is the word I've picked for Matthew, and it's Lockpick. Matthew is a walking lockpick. That's literally all he is. He does steal sometimes, sure. He gets some good items. But we bring him around because he's a lockpick. That's pretty much it. I don't know what else to say about this guy. Nils. This one was pretty easy. Nils is irreplaceable. That's the word, irreplaceable. I'm sure you've heard the lecture 1,000 times. Dancers are just that good. You can't justify not using Nils, honestly. You can't. I mean, maybe you can. I personally can't. Irreplaceable is the word for Nils. Lucius. This one was hard. I like Lucius. I don't really know. It's so hard to describe Lucius in one word. The word I chose is glass. As in glass cannon. Because he is made of glass. He's the most fragile unit in the game with base, I think, 18 HP and 1 defense or something like that. There's a lot of enemies that one-shot him, even like late into the game, even early into the game. Basically at every point in the game, enemies can one-shot him. You need to keep him out of range. Lucius does a ton of damage if you train him up, but at the end of the day, he's made of glass. That's Lucius. Wallace, my boy. I think as a disclaimer, I have to apologize to Wallace fans, all 2 of you. The word I picked for Wallace is atrocious. There is literally no redeeming factors to Wallace. None. Moving on, we got Eliwood, one of the boys. I've used Eliwood time and time again. The game sort of forces you into thinking that you should use Eliwood. And to be fair, the first time you play it, it does force you into playing Eliwood. But on Hector mode, you don't have to use him. And I know a lot of people play on Hector mode pretty much exclusively, at least people who are, veterans of the game. So the word I chose for Eliwood is benched, because he is just not worth using. Low base stats. Again, the shaky growths, sort of like Irk syndrome. His promotion does give him a mount, but it's by then it's almost not even worth it. You have to stick with a pretty garbage unit for a while, so I just call him bench. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you like Eliwood, but he's just not my thing. Moving on to Marcus. One word, I think there's only one word in the English dictionary that manages to capture the essence of Marcus, and that word is steroids. Marcus starts with a hefty base 15 strength, and if you don't know why that's good, in the first chapter, by the way, in the literal first chapter of the game, he starts with base 15 strength. If that alone, if the weight of that fact alone does not blow your mind, then I don't know what to say to you. Marcus is steroids. Lowen. Lowen, it's hard to keep my bias out of this one. Lowen's like my favorite character in the game. I described him as the word based. Based Lowen. That's all you gotta say. Rebecca. A lot of people like to pair Rebecca and Lowen. Personally, I think that's a disgrace. Lowen deserves way better, but whatever. I called Rebecca the word weak. She is not going to do anything. Honestly, just kill her off. Bartre. So, the thing about Bartre, when you compare him to Dorcas, is they start out very different. Bartre has a lot more strength, Dorcas has a lot more speed. But the way their growths are balanced, they will end up being almost the same unit by mid-game, and then by end-game, Bartre will be faster, Dorcas will be the stronger one, probably, based on, averages and stuff. But I think most of Bartre's contributions are summed up with the word slowest. I described Dorcas with slow, because he's very slow. Bartre, though, Bartre takes the cake with slow. Bartre is not just slow. Bartre doesn't just move forward at a slow pace. He actually moves backward. He is so slow that you'll probably end up leaving him behind in the dust. That's why I called Bartre slowest. His base speed is just... It's probably one of the lowest base speeds in the history of Fire Emblem. It's disgraceful. I used to think Bartre was actually good because of his 40% speed growth. I've now learned that I was stupid. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Bartre. He's slowest because even though he does pick up speed at the end of the game, like, you're not going to be using Bartre long enough for that to even come into play. So all of his contributions are basically early game when he's kind of force deployed, when he's just the slowest character in the game. Now, Hector. it's extremely hard to rate Hector. A lot of people love Hector, but a lot of people also think Hector's sort of overrated, and I'm kind of in that camp. But I won't rate him as the word overrated. If you play Hector mode, he's force deployed. But I don't think he's great. And I know a lot of this is reviewing them as a unit, reviewing them as their utility, their viability. But for Hector, I've made an exception. I've used the word animations to describe Hector because I don't really... There's nothing that really stands out to me about Hector that would make me want to use him other than his animations, which are so cool that you literally cannot justify not having him on your team. That's all I gotta say. Oswin. Oswin can be described very easily in one word, and it is epic. Moving on, Guy, or Guy. Guy's a very interesting case in what makes Myrmidons and Swordmasters typically so bad. Because even in Hector hard mode, where he gets pretty good base stats thanks to his hard mode bonuses, he can be described with the word Falloff. Because in the first couple chapters that he's in, first maybe 2 or 3, he makes very valuable contributions, almost to the point where I find the game really hard. I find the game would be really hard without him. Like, in the Merlinus Gaiden chapter, for example, he spends a lot of time just sitting in forests, whacking brigands or fighters. And in the Hector exclusive chapter, the Hector mode exclusive chapter with the Nomad boss, I don't remember what that one's called, he also can spend a long time just fighting and dodging fighters in the top left. After that, enemies start to basically just be all lances, and he's worthless after that. No matter how good your stats are, he's not going to cut it anymore. So I use the word fall off to describe how just quickly he is not worth using anymore, especially with all the units that you start getting. And the limited deployment slots in Hector hard mode specifically, it is so hard to justify using him. And that's what it comes down to a lot for a lot of units at the end of the day, is how hard it is to justify using some of these units. Now, moving on to my favorite unit in the game, Merlinus. Merlinus is an interesting character as he cannot fight, and he kind of just stays in a tent, doesn't move, and doesn't really do anything. The word I chose to rate Merlinus is tank, because in all my playthroughs, Merlinus just distracts the enemy and survives for so long that he actually is kind of useful, and he's like, you can choose whether or not to deploy him, but he doesn't take up a deployment slot, so really, you should always be deploying him. And he also gives you the added bonus of sending items to the storage when you pick them up. So, I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't use Merlinus, honestly. He's just really great. It's always good to have around. I described him as tank, sort of a meme, but, you know, he actually is kind of hard to kill. He dodges a lot for some reason, but there's not much to say about that. Priscilla. Priscilla is the only troubadour in the game, I believe, and I really like troubadours. I'm a bit biased. Mounted healers, always good to see. The word I chose for Priscilla is utility, because unlike Serra over here, Priscilla has excellent utility other than just staves. Serra only has staves, and then she's got 5 movement, terrible aid because of her low constitution. But because Priscilla's mounted, she gets the bonus 2 movement from being on a horse, plus she gets Canto after using an item or rescuing or, I don't know, a couple other things. And because of her low con, and also with conjunction of being on a horse, she has very high aid. She can carry around probably most characters in the game. So not only can she heal, which she's very good at, I would argue, the best healer in this game, at least for a while. Maybe you can find some better healers later on who promote get Staves later, but she's definitely your best healer from the get-go, in my opinion. But yeah, she's also got the mount and just a ton of utility in general. She's probably one of the most useful units that doesn't really see combat, in my opinion. Sort of like Merlinus, but in a different way. Anyway, that's all I have to say for Priscilla. Utility, that's the word. Priscilla's kind of nuts. I like her. Moving on to her brother. Spoilers. Raven. I see a lot of hype for Raven, and I see a lot of people saying Raven's overrated. And maybe it's just personal experience, maybe it's not. Raven has some crazy bases, especially hard mode. The word I chose for Raven is busted. In my opinion, Raven is one of the best combat units in the game. From the get-go, he's doubling and one-rounding almost every enemy. Depends on if he has weapon triangle or not. I guess he's not really one-rounding lances depending on, but he's got some crazy speed to start off with, some pretty good strength, decent defenses, and his strength growth is going to carry him to the end of the game, basically. He's going to be one of your best combat units. I would advise you, if you want to use Raven, to promote him early because his bases are so good. I don't think he needs the extra level ups, especially considering his growths aren't amazing other than strength. Having a hero around who can just slay any enemy is honestly like invaluable, in my opinion. He can lug hand axes for days. He can take some hits because of his pretty high HP and like decent defense. And just the fact that he can promote and then, if I'm not mistaken, just use hand axes right from base. I mean, he's not really ever bad. You don't really have to wait for him to grow into his stats, you know. He already comes good. It's just you got to deal with a few levels of him being sword locked. Then you get the axes. Personally, I just use axes basically until the end of the game with him. Anyway, busted. I mean, I think that really describes Raven. One of my other favorite units, Canas. If you've seen Mecha's waifu analysis on Canas, you will maybe have noticed some interesting things about Canas that many players don't normally notice for themselves. Mostly concerning his promotion. So the word I chose for Canas is promotion because I don't think there's a single unit in this game whose promotion, how can I word this? Whose promotion just changes him from 0 to hero, like Canas. And I don't even think Canas starts off as a hero, or as a 0, but he definitely becomes a hero in my opinion. Like Mecha will tell you, I believe he gets a +3 speed and a +1 con, and because all dark tomes actually way higher than Canas' base con, plus con is basically a plus speed. So basically he's getting +4 attack speed, and his speed base isn't even bad. His growth is decent too. Anyway, after that he'll actually start doubling. And with the might of the Flux Tome, along with his good magic base and good magic growth, he's going to actually be doing a lot of killing. And unlike many other mages in Fire Emblem, he can actually take some hits. He's got good HP, and he's probably got, I think, the best defense out of any mage in this game. Might be wrong on that. But he can actually take some frontline hits, especially if you want to use Nosferatu to tank. It's kind of a meme build, but you can do it if you want. Anyway, promotion is how I describe Canas, because that promotion is just invaluable. I would advise you to promote him earlier if possible. Maybe use your first guiding ring on him, honestly. Spam some Staves. It'll be a good time. Moving on to Dart. Dart's a polarizing unit. People who use him often describe him as a Slayer or King. His strength and speed growths are ludicrous. I, for one, have used him. He basically caps strength and speed by the end of the game. Capping strength as a berserker is no small feat. He can one-round almost anything in the game. If you even train him up just a tiny bit, his bases leave a bit to be desired. And the steel axe he comes with, you should not use that. Give him the right equipment. He's decent. I rated him with the word potential because he doesn't start out very good at all. Honestly, I hate training Dart. He's not fun to use at the beginning, but he's definitely fun to use by the end of the game when he's hand-axing fools left and right. Potential is sort of a double-edged sword for Dart. Potential is the reason I chose the word potential is because his promotion is very interesting. So the word potential means, well, of course you know what it means, but in this context, what I want it to mean is he can be good if you invest, right? If you just invest. And invest in this case doesn't just mean invest experience like every other unit. Invest also means investing in his promotion item, the Ocean Seal. There's only one in the game, and you can sell it for 25,000 gold. You can just sell that, make so much money, buy all the weapons for the rest of the game that you would ever need, or you could promote Dart, and while there's certainly not a huge money issue in the game, you can just I think you will feel that lack of funds if you actually decide to give Dart the Ocean Seal instead of selling it. Not only that, but new players, this doesn't really factor into it too much, but new players probably won't even get the Ocean Seal in the first place. I know I didn't, so I basically just couldn't promote Dart. So anyway, the potential's there. He can become a great unit, but the question is, do you want to put the work in that is required to reach that potential? It is a question that many players answer with no, because there's a lot working against Dart. And that's why I say potential, because he's not just going to be automatically good and start killing things left and right. You need to put a lot into Dart. Anyway, that was sort of a rant. I like Dart. I do like Dart. But potential is how I'd rate Dart, honestly. Fiora. The sister of Florina, I think. You need Florina to recruit here, which kind of sucks because if your first Pegasus Knight died, then you can't get your second one. I don't know why recruitments are like that sometimes, but you know, that's how it is. Jumping right into it, the word I use to describe Fiora is bases, because her bases as a flyer are nothing short of great, in my opinion. She comes basically ready to fight, other than the fact that you don't really want to use her starting inventory of the Axe Reaver. Give her like an Iron Lance or Slim Lance or something. But she comes pre-built to actually kill things, unlike Florina, who you basically have to feed for a while. There's not too many Pegasus Knights throughout the series that are like this. And considering all the flyer utility that comes with being a Pegasus Knight, as well as just her stats being good overall, her bases and her growth, to be honest, I rated her with the word bases because that's sort of what defines her as a unit, in a way. Her bases just kind of work in conjunction with being a flyer really well, and I kind of just, even if you're training up Florina, honestly, you might get Fiora and just realize that Fiora is still better than a trained Florina, which is why I rated her with the word bases. I don't know. Maybe I could have chosen a better word, but that's how I decided to cut it. Moving on to Legault. My relationship with Legault is a little funny because he's a thief, right? And most players might only use their thieves to steal and lockpick. That's how I use my thieves. The funny thing about Legault is he's basically just Matthew plus in a way. He doesn't really do anything that Matthew can't do. Except he basically just has higher stats. So I just described Legault with the word upgrade. Because there's not much to say about him other than he's just a better Matthew. Even if you train Matthew, Legault is probably still going to be better. And if you don't train Matthew, then he's literally direct upgrade. And I don't see how you would want to use Matthew after you get Legault. Unless you just like Matthew for some reason, or you've already gotten his supports or something. I don't know. But I've always just seen him as a direct upgrade. Very similar to the way Astor works. I would always ditch Chad for Astor. I actually hate Chad in FE6, of course. Anyway, direct upgrade is the word I use for that. I don't really know how to describe Legault other than that. He's just an upgrade of your previous thief, because that's all he does. He's just a thief but with better stats. Now, Ninian here is an interesting character, because I already rated her brother Nils with the word irreplaceable. So what did I call Ninian? I rated Ninian with the word replaceable, because she's literally replaced by Nils, and she is the literal exact same character as Nils. They even share the same stats, do the same thing. It's kind of weird. Anyway, there's not much to say about Ninian that I haven't said with Nils. She's replaceable, because she just leaves, and then Nils is yours. I don't even know what to say. Anyway, Isadora. Now, I'm not one of those Isadora haters. I know there's a lot of you out there. I think she can be good. I don't think she's just trash. And maybe Mecha's video on her sort of changed my mind a bit, but I always kind of liked Isadora. The word I rated Isadora is Swordmaster. Because when you think about it, she's kind of just a Swordmaster on a horse. She's really high speed. She's actually got decent strength. Low-ish HP in defense. And low con. It's very similar to a Swordmaster. And her speed growth is basically the only growth notable on her. So she's kind of just a mounted Swordmaster. But she can also use lances and axes, albeit not perfectly. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but I don't know. I rated her as Swordmaster just because I feel like her and swords go hand in hand. The silver sword she starts with, I consider it her personal weapon in a way, just because I don't know of any unit that uses silver swords better than her. I don't know, it just works in conjunction so well. Just her doubling with the silver sword, one-rounding basically anything she comes across. It's just, she has that classic Swordmaster issue of being kind of frail. She won't be able to be on the front lines all the time, but she just has the added utility of having control over the weapon triangle. But because I can only describe her with one word, I called her a Swordmaster because she basically is a sword wielder on a horse. I don't know. I won't linger too much on that. I tried. Heath. First of all, I hate this guy's hair so much. He looks like an idiot. But I like Heath, so I rated him with broken. Once you recruit Heath, he is kind of just ready to go. Depends on if you're playing hard mode or not. Personally, I think he works quite a bit better on hard mode because his hard mode bonuses provide him with a really needed boost to his speed, as well as just the advantages that he has are amplified over the bad units in hard mode, just because of how much worse the bad units get, and the flyer mobility and all that really gives him the upper hand So I call Heath broken because there aren't too many units that I can say just kind of start good and then snowball into really, really good, all while having the flyer utility of high rescue and being able to fly over just mountains and stuff in general to reach hard to reach spots. I don't know. Heath is just one of those units that can do almost anything. And with the added bonus of FE7 having only 2 times effectiveness, he doesn't even really have to worry about bows thanks to his really high defense. So Heath is one of those units that I can pretty much just use in any situation and he'll be able to survive it. So I called him broken because he doesn't take that much investment, especially on hard mode, to get to where he needs to be. And then he kind of can just do anything you want him to, which I love about Heath. So broken is the word. Cutting it right to the chase, I would call Hawkeye immortal. With his ludicrous 50 or so HP base and high both defense and res, I have never seen Hawkeye die in my life, even after fighting like 20 to 30 units in one turn. He kind of... all he needs is like a fortress or a forest or something and a hand axe, and he will just annihilate. He's a little slow, but he'll survive pretty much any situation you put him in, so I called him immortal. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm going to be honest, Geets. The word I use to describe Geets is who? Because I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen him in my life. And you probably haven't either. Who is this guy? Literally, who is Geets? Who is this character? I think the Fire Emblem Wiki's messing up a bit here, because this character definitely is not in Fire Emblem. Anyway, moving on to Pent. I don't know if this really makes sense, but I'm just gonna go out and say, my word for Pent is nuke, because he just goes in and slaughters everything. He's got 1-2 range just built into his unit. He's got decent HP, pretty good defense, ridiculous offense with crazy high magic, and really great speed base as well. And his growths aren't even bad. Like, this guy is going to take you to the end of the game, and he'll be one of your best units the entire time. He's ridiculous. So the word for Pent is nuke. I don't really have much else to say. He also has the added staff utility. He comes with a physic, I believe, which is really awesome. But I think nuke describes him pretty well. He just goes in and kills whatever you want him to. Louise is unfortunately not as great as her husband. The word I used to describe Louise is support, because I don't really see a use for Louise other than supporting Pent. She gives him some nice defense, which really adds to his survivability. If you just stick Louise next to Pent, I think Pent can solo like any chapter of the game, honestly. I don't know if that's true, but Louise kind of just sits there to give Pent some defense, some durability, and maybe get a silver bow shot here and there, but like silver bows aren't everywhere in this game. And while Will and Rebecca are leagues below Louise, snipers are kind of just gross to use. Sure, they can get a good pot shot on a wyvern once in a while, maybe take it down to low health, maybe she can double something in one round with the silver bow, sure. But you don't want her on the front lines, because she's just gonna get hit and go down really quick. So support is the word for her, because just stick her next to Pent, and she just makes Pent that much better. Now Corel. Corel embodies the word okay, the word I chose for him. Because you get him and it's like, okay, he can do some damage, he's really fast, he can kind of survive. He's okay. I mean, I don't really want to use him. I already got my team picked out. He's, I don't know. If you have Guy lying around, maybe you could swap out Guy for Corel, but I don't know. He's just okay. I never really looked at him and got wowed by his stats or anything. It's just kind of okay. If you have a slot, you can use whatever. I don't know. Corel. I don't like Corel. Harken though. So the word I chose for Harken is beast. Harken comes preloaded with some of the most ridiculous stats I have ever seen in my life. I don't even know how to describe it. He comes in with the brave sword, by the way, as if he wasn't already killing things. He can kill things without you even fighting back. Once you recruit this guy, it's all over. This guy makes Raven, one of my favorite units, look like an absolute piece of crap. He's got ridiculous strength. He's got really good speed. He's probably doubling almost any enemy in the game aside from some bosses like Swordmasters or something. He starts with the ability to use hand axes, one of the best weapons in the game in my opinion. He can use any sword basically at base. His axe rank is pretty good too. He can hold pretty much anything without getting weighed down. He can't hold a steel axe, I don't think, but like he's still gonna be able to double with it probably for most units. But like, just the hero class is just so good, and combined with the bases that he starts with, not to mention the really great HP and defense, like he is a frontline unit. He gets out there and slaughters everything. He's like Pent except physical. I don't even know what to say other than beast. He's just a beast. Alright. Nino. That's right. Everybody's favorite green hair little punk is here. And my word for Nino is no. No. Stop. My word is no, because no, just don't use Nino. Okay, Jafar. This might seem a little uncreative, but the word I use for Jafar is assassin. Because, look, I know Jafar's class is called assassin, but even if he was a swordmaster or something, I'd still call him assassin, and the reason why is because Jafar just kind of kills everything at base. His strength is like ridiculously high, his speed is ridiculously high. Anything he goes up against is kind of just gonna die. He's a really good player phase killer, not the best enemy phase, because, you know, he doesn't have 1-2 range, he's only locked to swords, right? But I called him assassin because if you need a unit that needs to get taken out, if there's one unit on the map that you just really want out of the way, Jafar, send him in, and they're gone. That's why I called him assassin, because even though it's the name of his class, that's kind of what he does. I think Intelligent Systems did a really good job of like representing the assassin class in this way, because like he basically just works like you would think an assassin works. You send him to wherever he needs to go, take out the target, he's good. He might not be able to fight 30 guys, but that's not what you need him for. You send him in for the one, you know, stray Valkyrie or something, and they just die. That's kind of how I like to use Jafar in my opinion anyway, so I called him assassin. We're getting near the end here, getting to some really good pre-promotes. Vita. My opinion on Vita is kind of weird. I don't know if anybody uses Vita like I do, but I used the term general for Vita, because in my opinion, Vita is just a pre-promoted flying general with uber high strength, uber high defense and HP, especially with hard mode bonuses. And not the best speed, although she can double. You can get her doubling. Her growths are pretty good. They can carry her to the end for sure. Speed growth is not bad. I just call her a flying general because she kind of just like can fly in and take thousands of hits before going down. She just doesn't take damage, especially like I said with the double effectiveness with Heath. Even bows aren't going to take her down, really. Maybe a silver bow sniper or something can do some damage, but like, just give her a javelin. She's going to be killing archers. She doesn't care. She's a flying general. that's why I rated her as the general. Renault, one of the final characters to recruit. A lot of people don't really have much to say about Renault, me included. I use the word lopsided because his stats are really weird. And I know this is story related. You should actually look into Renault's supports to figure out his origin, because it's actually really cool, and most people don't give Renault the light of day. But long story short, this is the second last character in the game. He's a pre-promoted bishop with 12 magic. His magic is not really going to take you anywhere, especially with there only being, what, like 2 chapters left? What is he gonna do? Like, heal you? I don't know. I don't really have a use for Renault ever. I just don't like him. I don't think anybody likes him. But I call him lopsided just because of how low his magic is, but like at the same time his defense is really high, insanely high for a magic user. Again, this is story related. It's actually really cool, but unfortunately Renault falls into the gameplay story integration a bit too hard, and because of that he kind of just sucks. Because lore-wise his character should probably suck at being a magic user. Anyway, look into his character. It's really interesting. But lopsided is what I have to say about Renault, because he's super fast, pretty good defense. His magic just sucks. I don't know. He's too lopsided for me to use him. That's just all I had to say. Athos. There's one word that describes Athos for me, and that's carry. Athos is the carry of the final chapter. He comes in, he's like, look, I know I'm a pre-promote. I know a lot of people don't like pre-promotes, but I am better than every unit in your team. Just plain and simple. Athos teaches you that you can make all the mistakes you want, all the long-term mistakes you want. You could screw up so bad, get to the final chapter, be so screwed, and then Athos comes in and it's just like, yeah, I can solo this, whatever. Leave it to me. It's like, I think it really teaches you a lesson about pre-promotes and how little to no investment you even need to get them working. He's so powerful, but you only have him for the 1 chapter, admittedly. But I call him the carry because he just carries that last chapter if you need him to. He certainly did for me, because my units weren't turning out so great. I mean, there is a few good ones, but you know, Athos is the carry of the final chapter in my opinion, and that's why I rated him that. Now, Florina, one of the Hector exclusive characters. I kind of like Florina. My word for Florina is worth, because a lot of players don't see Florina as, you know, justifying her huge price tag of, what, like 20,000 gold or something. In my opinion, she's worth the price. First of all, if you sell Dart's Ocean Seal, you can more than make up for it. But even if you don't, I think if you are just a little bit stingy with your stuff, maybe you sell a couple things here and here, you know, sell any promotion items you don't need anymore, steal some gems from enemies or something, sell some just things you don't need. Like, I think you're gonna have more than enough money to get Florina, and her stats, her bases and growths combined, make for a really good unit. Even though she comes kind of late, you can promote her instantly and she's still pretty good, but you can give her like a good amount of levels in her joining chapter. Just get her to fight like 50 monks with a javelin and she'll be almost level 20 in no time. Then you can promote her and she'll be one of your best flyers, like, after only 1 chapter of investment. I mean, I don't know, that's worth it to me. I don't know about you guys, but that's why I described Florina as being worth. Final unit, Carla. I don't even know what to say. I just have to tell you the truth. Carla, the word I rated her is joke. She's a joke. She's so bad. She's so bad. She's a joke. That's all I have to say. And there you have it. I've rated every Fire Emblem 7 character with 1 word. How do you guys feel about my picks? Some of them were a little wonky, I do admit, but I think I provided enough justification that at least you can sort of see where I'm coming from, hopefully. Anyway, let me know what you think. If you have other words that you would describe these characters with, let me know down in the comments. Also, let me know what your favorite units are. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you guys liked this video, let me know. I can make more of these. I played a lot of Fire Emblem games. I can do Sacred Stones, I can do FE6, I can do Awakening Fates, you know, Three Houses, whatever. If you guys like this, let me know, and I'll make more. It's as simple as that. Anyway, Chunky Nugget is out. I hope you liked it. I had a lot of fun with this one, so see ya.